As a working-class lad growing up in Essex, what did aspiration mean to you?
I don't think it's a complex issue. Without meaning to sound crass and to give a short answer, aspiration, very broadly, is ending up with more than you started off with. Slightly nicer house, better money, better future for your kids, and more security, and maybe the job you want to do. And it's not complex. When you hear people going, it's really hard for poor people to describe their dreams, they just don't have the ability. I just think it's a lot of nonsense. Most people, unless you've done too much Wittgenstein at Oxford and you're being a mechanic on purpose out of some sort of weird philosophical irony, you want to end up with more than you started with. And for most people that represents a better economic state of affairs, living a bit longer, good health and a good education.
It's not too much to ask for.
Is that a boring answer? But
no, it's a good answer. Do you think we have a kind of inverted snobbery, though? If people are seen to aspire to something, they want to better themselves, they want to get on, some even want to think big about that. Is there a kind of... Because a put down in Britain is, he tries too hard.
Well, without meaning to plug inadvertently, the show I'm touring at the moment is called Smallness, and the jumping off point is about this odd relationship we have with success, with largeness. You can be successful, you don't want to be too famous, you don't want to be too loud, you don't want to be too good looking. We do prefer the chipped teacup just a little bit. We don't trust things that are too successful. It's one of the few countries I play in the world where I will say to the compere, please don't mention any of the awards I won. I want to have a good gig. Whereas if you're on stage in America, he's won award X, oh my God, he must be great. Whereas if he's won award X, right, let's not laugh on purpose, let's test him. So we do have this weird relationship with tall poppies, the Australians call it, but I think that's slightly different to the notion of aspiration and dreams and things one can punt for. And I think the cards are stacked against working class kids these days more than they were a while back.
Do you think our education system doesn't do enough, particularly with working class kids, to encourage aspiration, to say, look, the world's your oyster. If you work hard, get a good education, get on, nothing should hold you back?
I think these are the sentiments of people that wished that children were little things you could program and they would go into a comprehensive system and we would all grow up equally. However, having just come through that system, and also, by the way, before I say what I'm about to say, having two parents that both failed in 11+ and were dipped into secondary modern, so I feel unqualified to comment, what happens when you get to a comprehensive, regardless of how bright you were at 9, 10 or 11, the law of the jungle kicks in. I was in this pack of nerdy kids that wanted to study and do well, and do you know what? You get slightly bullied for it, you get picked out for it, you can stream as much as you like, but in the playground or in the yard, whatever you call it, that's when the law of the jungle kicks in. I don't understand why it's considered right-wing to want to celebrate the success, the brightness or the intelligence of working class children. What the hell has that got to do with right or left wing, apart from the historic position of parties in the 1960s? You can virtually draw a bell curve from the 1944 Education Act and grammar school system kicking in, social mobility, it goes like that, and lo and behold it comes down again in the 70s and 80s as my generation get tipped in to the melting pot of comprehensive. You put a load of A grades and a load of E grades together, you don't get an equal education for all, you get a lot more C grades. Hence, if your mum's a single parent or if you come from Afro-Caribbean background or whatever, you're less likely to go to Oxbridge now than you were in the 60s. How can that be right? How? You know, at my school, there was a couple of musical prodigies. They were skimmed off and taken for a special musical education. No one went, that's not fair. Everyone must have equal music. Sorry, same violin lessons for everyone. Absurd. Absurd.
But if they'd been really good at maths, they wouldn't have been skimmed off.
No, it's unfair. Why do people struggle with two completely different concepts, equality and fairness? They're totally different things. Sometimes equality is the right way to go, but sometimes fairness is the way to go.
Is it different from equality?
Of course it is. You know,
take that, Alan Johnson.
It's good stuff.
But
grammar schools, kids who were bright got picked on as well. And
of course they did.
But that was back in the 60s.
Depends where you went on.
I think where Miles is wrong in that brilliant analysis is that there's a political issue about a kid doing well and getting on and being bright and being skimmed off, because, I mean, you know, there is no difference now. The man arrested in that restaurant under a citizen's arrest would agree with every word you said about education there. And that was one of the things that he tried to change, because there was this feeling that Labour wanted everyone to be on the same level and we didn't want to pick out their talent and promote them. I think the issue is your definition of aspiration was absolutely right. You want to do better, get on. The problem now is still the problem that it always was. If a kid off a working class estate wants to be a surgeon, a neurosurgeon, very little chance. If he wants to be a top judge, very little chance. Wants to be an army general, he's got very little chance. Breaking down the barriers to those kind of professions, and at the same time seeing the things that working class kids did used to go into, music, even football now, actually becoming more elitist. You have to be picked up when you're young. You have to have parents with money.
And there's international competition.
You know.
Can I take a step back even from education systems and put the question to the two of you, because Alan's also in a very good position to answer it. I mean, I've read your book, and I think your mother was highly aspirational for you. She thought you must go to the grammar school. She thought the way out of your predicament, that is to say the predicament of your poverty, was education. Are there enough parents today who believe that the way out of their predicament for their children is education? There seems to be a disconnect in this country.
Well, we only have a few, so I think it's a really important question, and I'm going to let you give me a quick answer.
There's a test, it's called the PISA science test, where we look at how important environment is versus education. The UK comes in, guess what, 50-50, family is equally as important as education. So, you've got
so it's nature and nurture.
Shorter school holidays would help that as well. You don't dip in the holidays.
You're on tour at the moment?
I am, yeah.
Going well?
I'm much funnier on tour, don't worry, I'm not serious.
No, well, you were both funny and wise tonight. Thank you for your time.